So now we move into breakout groups, which I hope will, is timed to start in the afternoon after lunch. Need everybody to dig deep, find the energy, have some great conversations. These breakout groups, again, were developed to try to feed into this continuous improvement process that we talked about earlier. I'm not going to go through it in detail. I think I'm reading the room here, and I think we need to move on and get into breakout groups. So again, just some guiding principles that we talked about earlier. Please do, especially this afternoon, please do feel free to take some breaks. There's snacks and beverages out in the foyer that you should definitely take advantage of. So with that, you should have received an email from me early this morning with a breakout group assignment, A-B breakout group. So we're going to start with A, and then we'll go to B. If you didn't get an email or don't know what your group assignment is, come see me, and we'll get that sorted out. What's in that email, so each table now has a number, and so whatever your breakout group assignment is, what the number is the table you should sit at. Each breakout group has been assigned a facilitator, and when you sit down at the table, they will identify themselves and start to convene the group and get people introduced and guide you through this process. We're going to start with a breakout activity focused on sharing an emergence of ideas, and this is the idea of just letting everybody settle in a small group, share, get comfortable with the framework, and allow ideas just to emerge. And the guiding theme is, what is a key educational barrier now? And there are 3 prompts to this, and the idea is to try to personalize this. Think about a time when an educational barrier presented itself to you in your practice, in your work, with growers and or processors. So that's the other thing is people who primarily work in preventive controls will be grouped with people who primarily work in preventive controls, and likewise with produce safety. So that hopefully has been done by me. We'll see. And then what factors were at work? So leveraging the summary that Elizabeth provided and that Annie and Andrea have provided, what were the factors that that were identified in that work that showed up in this example that you experienced? And were there others? So right now it's not about solving the barrier. Let's share about the barriers we've seen. Start there. Trust me, we'll get to the solutions. Right, Amanda? Yeah, okay. Sharing is caring, especially with Girl Scout cookies. We ready? Good? Any questions? Okay. Come see me if you need an assignment, a breakout group assignment. So, day 1, 2023, NECAP's annual meeting, nearly done. I wanted to just give a few moments to anybody around the room who has any reflections from the day. Something maybe that surprised you about the day that you observed, that you've learned, maybe something that you're already planning to take back home and put to use. So we have Annie Fitzgerald on this side of the room with a microphone and Andrew Chamberlain on this side. Anybody have anything they'd like to share? Sean.
My group made it clear that we know the barriers, and we know a lot of solutions and have a lot of ideas. And so it seems like what's missing is the time, the resources, the money. So I would just give a round of applause to everyone here for doing what we just did.
Thanks, Sean. Other thoughts? Yeah, Roger.
Thanks. So I think our group, we got down to what is the objective. And the objective is enhanced food safety. And it's not something we measure. So we're working towards an undefined goal. And we're also talking to disparate groups. Some we say you're exempt. Some we say you're excluded. And some we say you're covered. and we use essentially the same training to all three groups without really addressing this sort of overarching thing, this culture of food safety.
Thanks, Roger. Carl?
So this is not particularly from the group. This is from me.
Awesome.
I think it's important to keep in mind that unless there was a documented change, you can't call it a solution. No matter how good an idea it might seem to be.
Thank you. What else? Wes? Oh, Wes is next.
Okay, hi. In our group, we were Path B, but it's not related to Path B. We talked about refresher training for inspectors, and Joe Reardon had indicated there is a newer class coming out that's going to be called FD 227. The 226 would be a prerequisite, so the FDA is working on that.
Great, thank you.
Well, we come up with something we don't think anyone would have even thought of, is how you sell food safety. We do a poor job of selling, we feel, I should say the group, we do a poor job of selling food safety, and we suggest maybe at next year's conference you have someone who actually does sales and how you motivate people to do sales. And it could be like an hour presentation, and then breakout sessions after.
Love it.
Because we do not do a good job, especially for small growers that have not been involved and really do not know what's going on.
Super idea. Thank you.
Like just as a follow-up, maybe someone from the insurance industry, because I feel sometimes like selling food safety is like selling insurance. Hey, you need to do all of this so nothing happens. And it's hard to sell a negative, but insurance people do that for a living. And I'm pretty sure they have conferences like this just on how to do that. So maybe invite someone from that industry to come talk to us for an hour or something.
So we might be in Hartford again next year. It's the insurance capital of at least the United States. Good idea, Hop. Thank you. Andre.
Yeah. I'm reminded of that Tom Waits song. How do we do it? How do we do it? Volume, volume, turn up the volume. It finds you a job. It is a job. So glad you asked, Wes, because basically at our table we really talked about selling food safety, and what we talked about with like all of the values and barriers that were to it, it really came down to changing the culture and from a backwards planning point of view of how we present food safety. And for so often we present food safety from the front with this list of goals that you need to achieve, instead of coming from the back and saying what food safety will give you, what food safety will do for your farm, how it will benefit the culture, the value, the opportunity costs, the underlying costs, and the efficiency of your farm. So if you start from that premise and work backwards, you can start to we started to systematically attack all of the barriers that we were finding to values. And we have, a little punch list of different ways that we should get to do that. And we should all share that with you.
Thank you, Andre.
And then I was just going to add on to that from the PC side. Just having food safety as part of your business plan. So for food entrepreneurs who are just starting out, they don't include food safety, and so a lot of the barriers that they have to overcome include budgeting for that and having that up front, and knowing that they do have to do and apply food safety to make safe food products, just as they're starting out.
Thanks, Beth. Other thoughts? Behind you, Annie? Aaron?
Thank you.
I like that idea of focusing on the selling, and like Andre mentioned, opportunity costs. And we all know we do this full time or a significant part of our time. We know the benefits, we know the reasons, but the reality is a farm in my opinion, opportunity cost is huge for a farm. Every $100 they spend on food safety is $100 that can't go somewhere else. They can't fix the tractor or can't buy seed or fertilizer. And every hour they spend on food safety, they can't spend an hour somewhere else. And that's the reality of farming.
Thank you, Aaron. Andy, right in front of you.
I just wanted to make one comment. It's I don't think it's how to sell food safety per se, as much as it is just agreeing to buy the farmer's food. Any farmer is going to practice food safety if they know at the end of the day there's a market for it. And how many universities here are actually buying the food from all of those verified farms?
Thank you. Mary?
So we talked about a lot of things, and one of them was when we're communicating science, we tend to communicate sciencey, and communicating in a way that's less sciencey. Because what do they say? For 8th grade level, and maybe even shooting for lower than that. Some things require more words, bigger words than that. But thinking with that in mind, that we want people who don't have a lot of time, who may not have a lot of familiarity with words like pathogens and E. coli and stuff like that. Not dumbing it down, that's the wrong word, making it easy to understand when you're looking at something and you need to understand it quickly. So that's one thing we talked about. But also, at the end of our discussion, we were talking about, again, going to other disciplines to communicate, like I subscribe to someone called Chad Littlefield, who's a communicator who talks about connection before content, like not just like spewing out words, but getting people thinking, warming people up first. And another one is Carmine Gallo, talks about marketing. I just got a great email from him about how to get people to open up your email. So he's talking about sales, but we want people to, when we send them something about food safety, we want them to be like, oh, that's an interesting thing. Maybe I'll actually click open instead of click delete. So.
Thanks, Mary.
So I think we've been talking about this, but we haven't mentioned the fact that we should be telling stories. We shouldn't be giving them data. They don't want data. They don't want stuff. They need stories. They need stories of success that say that a farmer down the road or in a different county made more money because they followed food safety regulations. We also need stories for manufacturers who hear about outbreaks, that people have been affected, individuals who've been affected by outbreaks. So we need to tell stories. That's part of the marketing as well.
Thank you, Kathy. Whew, that's just day one. All right, good deal. We're going to wrap up for the day. In here, from 4 until 6 tonight is a poster session right outside those doors there. And you have the poster abstracts in the program. Elizabeth, anything else you want to add? If you have a poster that you plan to share, you need to go get them now and put them up. And there will be food. And then tomorrow we begin 8 a.m. with breakfast and presentations here. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.